And we are live. Welcome to the Dialogues About Death show with your host, Chris Miller. There you
Good
are.
morning, everybody. Good morning. Welcome. Happy September 19th.
Yeah. Can you believe it's September already,
My
Chris?
goodness, fall is right around the corner.
Wow. Pumpkin lattes are in Starbucks. We know
Oh,
it
my
is
goodness.
fall.
It is. It is.
I love it. Well, today's show is going to be really important.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about a show that maybe some of you have watched, maybe some of you haven't, but it's about how to live to 100.
Yeah.
And it's about the blue zone. So if you've never heard about the blue zones, let us know in the comments because we'd love to share about this very interesting documentary. I think it's on Netflix. Is that
It
right?
is. It's on Netflix. And yeah, we thought we'd take a twist today. It's dialogues about death, but today we're going to talk about living to 100. So I thought, let's do that. Let's
Yeah,
let's get the most out of life. We got to get the most out of life.
exactly. And you know what? It's not just living to 100 because some people are like, oh my gosh. Like I talked to my aunt who's 88, who's not in good health. She's
Yeah.
like, I can't watch that show because I don't want to live to 100. I want to go to Jesus now. And I said,
Uh,
well, what if you could live without any suffering? Like if you had
yeah.
good health and vitality. And that's what the Blue Zone
Yeah.
documentary is talking about are the things that make us live healthy. And in these regions, and in fact, there's one really close to us in Loma
That's right.
Linda, they're finding that they don't hardly have any dementia. There's
Yeah.
no disease because they're doing things the right way. And today,
Right.
as you can see from the title, we're talking about how the power of community, which is what Loma Linda is famous for, makes us live longer.
That's right.
So I'm super excited. And before we go on, there's a couple. We have this topic because we have some community events coming up
Yeah,
that we're so excited to bring the community together and do some fun activities. And one is this afternoon.
that is correct.
What is happening
We
this afternoon,
we
Chris?
are hosting what we call a pain sip, and it's late this afternoon. We're having it at our reception center at Thomas Miller Mortuary in Corona, and it starts right around
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock.
That's
And
right.
so we'd love if you're in the area and you want to come out. We want to bring people together in our community, and also at the same time, if maybe you've had a loss in your life, it's about bringing people together that has had loss too, because that's an important part of getting through life and transitioning. When you've lost somebody,
Yeah,
is coming. It's not staying home and staying as a recluse. You need to get out. You need to have people around you and talk about the common things that you've had when you've had a loss.
exactly, exactly. And this is actually a grief expression through creativity. And
Yeah.
so it's going to be a guided. We have a wonderful art therapist coming,
Yep.
so it's actually a formal thing.
It
Where
is.
there's snacks and beverages and things like that. But what's neat is she's going to kind of guide us through. And at the end of the session, it's only 2 hours, not
Yeah.
even that much time. You'll actually walk away with a canvas, and it's absolutely
Beautiful.
free.
It's
And
all free.
all free. And actually, it's like this creative process that you don't just use paintbrushes. She has all kinds of cool,
Yes.
like tools that you can use that are common things. So what's neat is if, in fact, one lady was saying that she wants to learn how to do this so she can do it with her grandchildren because
Beautiful.
they just lost an uncle
Uh,
and they are grieving, but they weren't able to come
yep.
and because of schedules. But she's like, I think this will be so helpful for them to learn
Yeah.
how to express themselves through grief. I'm sorry, express their grief through creativity.
Yeah.
So again, if you haven't registered yet, we must register to come just because
Yep.
we need to keep account. We don't want to turn anybody away. And we only have seats for 20 people
That's
max.
correct. Yeah.
And
And that's
we're
right. We have
almost
a few
there.
seats left, but
Yeah.
because we want to give people the space, we don't want to overwhelm anybody. We want to make sure that you have your creativity, your space, and not overwhelm people.
Yes.
And this is going to be the first of many. We're trying this out. This is something new for us, and I think it's going to be really exciting. And then after the first of the year, we're going to probably do some more in like January, February, or March. We're going to try it again in the springtime
Yeah.
after the holidays. But
Yeah,
this is
we
just
had talked about maybe doing one for Valentine's Day, like the remembrance
exactly.
of your love. And that's the other thing too. We're going to move on to the topic, but what's neat is we're going to be able to write messages to our loved one in the painting. So it
Yeah,
could be shown or it could be buried under the paper, under the paint.
that's
But
right.
what's nice is you can put verses, messages to your loved one, so no one else will know but you.
That's
And
right.
so I have shivers actually. The thing I've
Yeah,
done this before with Nicole, who's our therapist, and it is so transformational. It is, you walk away and you have something that you can honor them with,
That's right.
and you put it up in a special place in your home. Maybe it's in your prayer closet, maybe it's on your mantle. If you have an urn, that would be a nice thing to put next to it. Anyways, so we're so excited. So I will put the link in the show
Perfect.
comments. So if
Yep.
you want to register, again, we only have a few spots left, so make sure. So we have that this tonight from
Yep.
4 to 6, and then we also have an event coming up. We're celebrating Dios de los Muertos,
Yes.
Day of the Dead, the week after, because there's so many events going
Yes.
on November 1st. So we're doing it on November 7th. And
Yeah.
what are we showing,
Well,
Chris?
what we want to do is we didn't want to compete with all the other events, but we still wanted to memorialize and recognize the importance of that day. And so on November 7th, we are having the showing of Coco at the funeral home. So it's movie night at the mortuary. So come on out. We're going to have some beverages and popcorn. We're going to show the movie. I think doors open around 6:30, starts
Yep.
at 7 o'clock, something
Yep.
right around there.
Yep.
And again, we're limiting it to about the first 120 to 140 people. So it's first come, first serve. There's be a time to sign up, get in line early, and bring the kids out and have a nice family movie night. And we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, that'll be so fun. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love that movie night at the mortuary. Look at you. I love it.
Yeah.
All right.
Right off the top of my head, I just boom
Wow.
came up with it.
Wow.
That's how I
Brilliant.
work. I
You have
don't
a
rehearse
3
this stuff.
marketing.
I just go right off whatever's on my mind. That's how I say it.
I love it. I love it. Okay, well, let's get into the topic today. As I said,
Absolutely. Let's do it.
we want to share how the power of community makes us live longer. So,
Yeah.
let's talk about this show. It was so pivotal to so many people to learn how. Again, it's and just so if anybody doesn't know, a blue zone refers to a region that is exceptionally high concentration of healthy centenarians. Is that how you say
Yeah.
it? People who live to
Centenarians, and
centuries.
those are people that live to be 100. But
Yeah.
most of the people in these areas are like 80 and 90 years old, and they're extremely active.
Yeah.
And that's what's so cool about it. And it's just not like one thing. People say, oh, maybe it's the way they eat, or oh, maybe it's their faith, or maybe it's their exercise. But you know what? It's a combination of a little bit about everything.
Yeah.
My grandfather lived to be 96 years old, and he always said he lived by moderation. He moved. Every day he'd go out in the yard. He'd go in and out of his garden, and he would garden. He'd get on his knees and he'd pull weeds. He would till. He would work on his gardens, and he had immaculate gardens up in Santa Cruz area. And then they would go to church on the weekends, and they would get together with friends and neighbors and share their meals and share their foods and stuff. And both my grandparents, my mom's parents, both lived into their 90s.
Wow.
Just because they were from Italy, which was one of the blue zone areas, but they didn't live in the blue zone. But
Okay.
they were. My grandmother was born in Italy. My grandfather was born in New York, but his parents had just moved from Italy, and he was just born in the United States. But he was born here in the U.S. just after his parents immigrated
Wow.
here to the U.S. So really, my grandparents were from Italy.
Wow.
And so they grew up with those types of values of hard work, exercise, eating right, growing foods, things like that. And then also community. When you lived in New York in the old days, they had, the boroughs, they had in the Bronx, and they had, Harlem. They had these Little Italy, and they had all these little areas.
Right.
People would come together. They would share meals. They would share stories. They would share their history. And they would help each other. And even as they got older, they would help each other. And they really supported each other too. So that's just a few of the little things that we wanted to talk about today. But we're really fortunate with all these blue zones around the world. We actually have one in our own backyard.
Yeah. It's so cool. You just mentioned about Italy, and what they were known for in the show was their Mediterranean diet
Yes.
and strong family ties. But the town that they lived in Sardinia, which is very difficult to get to,
Yes.
it is built on hills. So
Yes.
people literally would have to walk all the way up the hill to go to a store and back down to this and then to go back up to their home. So they were constantly physically challenged, and that helped build their core, their
Yes.
heart. And
but it was just natural. It was just their natural way of life. They didn't go out and go to the gym. They didn't have gyms 100 years ago. They don't have gyms really today there in that area.
No.
It's just them walking up and down in their own community.
Yeah, so that's a lesson to us, right? Like,
Yeah,
make it a little harder on yourself. Don't just drive to the grocery store on the corner, walk
yeah,
there. Why
that's right.
not? And if you can't carry all the bags, bring a little rolling bin,
That's correct.
to kind of ease into that old, you see the whole little old ladies walking on the street with a little bin, like lean into that because
Absolutely.
that's why they're doing so well, right?
That's right.
The other place was interesting was in Costa Rica.
Yes.
People often live their lives with a strong connection in nature. So they are, not only communing with each other, but they're in nature. They say, what was that expression? Touch grass,
Yes, and for them, it's called Puta Vida. It's living a pure life, living a good life, and they do. They're grounded all the time. They're out in the soil. They're out in nature. They're getting the fresh air. They're grounding themselves,
right?
and that's what is so important. They would be one with the animals. They would tend to their sheep and their cattle and stuff like that. And so, and again,
They
it's
weren't on
kind
their.
of
You
goes
mean
the
they weren't
same.
on their phones all day, on the screen?
Phones, those don't even exist. They had to walk to their neighbor to talk. I mean, they didn't even have like telephones back in the day, but and they do
Well,
now.
that's
And
still today. I mean, they're still doing this today. They're not on their phones, right?
no, they're not. They're
Yeah,
not. Very little. They get up at sunrise and they work until the sun goes down, and then they gather as family to enjoy the fruits of their labors throughout the day.
yeah. I love that. And that seems to be a resounding theme as well. It's like it's one together. So like I said, if somebody, had a prize pig that, was at the plate, they wouldn't just keep it to themselves. They'd invite the
No,
neighbors to come in and share around their table.
they do.
Um,
All the neighbors would bring their own little whatever things they had. Some had certain fruits, some had certain vegetables, some of them might
right.
have made their own olive oil or their own honey, and they would just bring it all together and they would share their meals together. And so that's why they really had the connection and the connection of interaction. And that's what we're coming out of this pandemic. And I hate to bring back the pandemic, but
That's
that's
okay.
what created so much isolation, and that's what's caused so much mental illness and mental problems because we were isolated. We're not meant to be isolated. We're meant to be together as families. We're meant to be together in community and helping each other and supporting each other. And that's what makes us grow. And that's what makes us give us a purpose. And
I
they even talk about having a God given purpose, having a purpose in life of helping others or helping your family. And when you get up, it gives you something to get up out of the house about every day to do something.
Yes.
So that purpose and community is so important to live long.
I love that. Speaking of community, we have some people that are chiming in. I love it. So we have
Nice.
Alex. Good morning, Alex.
Good morning.
And Keisha. And
Wonderful.
Haley says she can't wait for the event today. I know it's
All
going to be
right.
super fun, as did Gracie as well. And we have more people. Oh, you're here. Awesome. So many people. Yep. Chris Thomas. Chris Thomas. Who's that? Chris Miller in the house.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
in the house.
and Christina, good morning. Oh, it's so nice to see so many people here. That's lovely. So you just brought up something that I thought was really cool. Let's get into some of the statistics because we've mentioned so
Yeah.
far that we've mentioned so far about some of the regions,
Yes.
but there's some interesting statistics. You just mentioned knowing your sense of purpose.
Yeah.
And there was a statistic that I wanted to read because I thought this was so important. That if you know your sense of purpose,
Yeah.
it is associated with 7 extra years of life
Yeah.
expectancy.
Exactly.
Wow!
And
Wow!
a couple years back, I went and talked to my pastor about this,
Okay.
about purpose, because sometimes we think, oh, maybe we only have one purpose in life. But there's times in your life that you will transition to other purposes. So you may say, I started my own business and I became really highly successful, and you're like, hey, I accomplished my purpose. I made a successful business. But that might have been just one of your purposes, and you're in your 30s or 40s, and you're like, well, my life, I'm complete. Well, you're not really complete. You've been brought here to maybe get you where you were today, to get you to your next purpose, to get you to your next level. So you always have a purpose until the day you are no longer here on earth. So just don't give up. Just because you've achieved maybe a purpose that you've dreamed about or worked hard for, once you've achieved that purpose, you're going to go ahead and say, all righty, what's my next step? What's my next level? And shoot for that next purpose in your life.
I love that. It is so true because I think a lot of times people say, well, I mean, back in the day, the olden
Yeah,
days, people would work at one company for 50 years and then die,
sure. That's
right?
right.
And now they say the trending is 5, 10 max
Yeah,
working at one company. And there's no shame in that because you said there's seasons for everything. There's
that's
people
right.
who are in our life for seasons, there's careers for seasons. And as we learn our different purpose, what lights us up, it's okay to
That's right.
change your purpose and what you're doing, which brings us to the next statistic in
Yeah.
regards to volunteering and purposeful contribution.
Yeah.
It said that the statistic said um, that there is a if you are volunteering and have, make a purposeful contribution, which is
Yeah.
common outcomes from community programs, they link to measurable aging benefits. Studies show slower biological aging and reduced mortality risk, which just means that you'll look better and you'll live longer,
That's right.
which is
Amen to
bonus,
that.
right?
And that's what that's what I've done over the last couple of years. I've tried to work doing mission work with my church. So volunteering in another country really appreciates what we actually have here in the United States. And we always say it's like you should really. We're so fortunate to live here in the United States. We don't really know how great we have it here, even though there's the craziness out there of today's world in the U.S. Um, we are so much more blessed being here in the US. The things that we have, the freedoms that we have, the opportunities that we have. And I've been blessed to go to other countries to serve and to give my time and volunteer. And you can see the joy in those people's lives, and they have literally almost nothing, and they have so much joy because their life is so much simpler. I think we've just complicated our lives here in the US with technology and stuff that it really has drowned out how we live today. So I challenge anybody, if you have the opportunity to volunteer in your community, volunteer at your churches or your local pantries, or maybe the Boys and Girls Club, or any of your community. There's so many community things that you can involve yourself in locally. But if you can go internationally, it will be a game changer. It'll be a life changer for you if you can get outside of the United States and really see how other people live. You will definitely appreciate what you have here in the United States.
It's so true. It's so true.
Yeah.
Um, Thank you for reminding that. And again, not everybody can go on a trip outside the country,
Yes.
but there's a lot of programs that help pay for those things. But as you said, it makes you aware of what we have,
Yes.
and helps us not take that for granted as much.
That's right.
So another thing that kind of goes actually along with what we're doing tonight at 4 o'clock, is that art engagement strengthens social connectedness. And I thought this was kind of a cool statistic because it says that participants report better belonging, reduced isolation, and higher well-being after regular arts participation. And it's true
Yeah.
across all adult age groups and children as well.
Yes.
Um,
Absolutely.
and I think that that is what we're trying to do tonight with our paint event. We're calling
I
it
agree.
Paint Your Heart Out, but it's all about expression. And you don't have to have lost someone, but sometimes we have a
No,
loss of a job, a
that's
loss of
right.
an opportunity, a loss of a relationship, a loss of a pet.
Yeah.
And so I think that that is so important. And tying into that is group art therapy and creative group programs. The statistics on that is that we find that reductions in loneliness, depression, and grief symptoms, and improvements in quality of life, especially when sessions build upon group cohesion and shared meaning.
Yeah.
So this is exactly the mechanism that Grief Friendly Paint Nights use, and
Yeah.
that's what we are
And
doing.
that's why we're so happy to sponsor this tonight, because and you may not even be an artist, but using your abilities to take your hands and create something is so important. Even if it's with clay, or with a paintbrush, or even working in your garden, digging in the dirt and planting flowers or herbs or something. But it's that sense of using your hands. It opens up your mind. It changes your mind, how you act and how you react to things when you're using the colors of paint and things. So it's so important to take the time of even doodling. If you take a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil and do some sketching and just doodle on paper and making lines and scrolls and stuff, it allows your mind to release and to kind of create a therapy amongst your mind by letting your hand have the freedom to flow. It allows a little escapism also. So you're not in that same monotonous thing all the time, but the art really allows you to open up your heart and open up your mind so you can heal during that process. And so we are, again, so fortunate that we're hosting this paint and sip, giving people the opportunity tonight to come out for community, to come out and do art expression, which is so important. And I'm just looking forward to, and I'm just thrilled that we can have that opportunity to partner with our community and giving them that chance to come out tonight.
That's awesome. Yeah, we're just absolutely thrilled about it. So again, I'm going to be putting the link in the comments so you can
Yeah,
register because you do need to register. We want to make sure we have space for everybody and to make sure we have enough food. So we have lots of
yeah,
yummy treats provided that.
you bet.
So to finish up the show, I wanted to kind of dive deep into our neighborhood. I mean, into our people who live in Loma Linda because
Yeah,
they were one of the which were just so like so honored that we'd have somebody so close. In fact, the city of Corona, I should say the county of Riverside, has signed up to be
yes,
able to qualify to be certified as a blue zone.
that is
So they
correct.
are working hard at creating the ability for people who live in our community to live longer by putting some things into place that maybe will
Yeah,
help us thoughtlessly. I know it sounds weird, but say, oh, I can walk to the store because there's sidewalks to walk there,
that's correct.
right? Bike
Yeah.
lanes. So I
Our community is really big. Corona has been over the last 2 to 3 years. They put all the trails. We're up against the Cleveland National Forest. They're putting posted hiking trails in our community. They have restriped all of our streets for bike lanes. Uh, they've made it so people can connect more through walking zones. And the way they've been redoing the housing here in town, where they're doing a little bit higher density housing in certain areas, so people can walk to the store, walk to church, walk to work, instead of having to use even public transportation.
right.
It gives people that community. Public transportation brings community. When you're sitting on the train or the metro line or things like that, you're sitting next to other people. You might strike conversations. Those are the types of things that our community is doing with our public transportation and things to bring people together, to get them outside of their house and to bring them so that they can go ahead and live longer. And it's not like even living longer, it's living healthier uh,
Right.
and living with a purpose.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And that's the thing. You want to make sure that we're doing the things that won't encourage disease or
that's correct.
encourage dementia because again, there's some things that are hereditary, but they have found that statistically our environment actually determines our health and well-being.
Yes.
Not so we can't say, well, my dad had, this disease, so
Yes.
I'm going to get that disease. Well, if you do the same things your dad did, well,
You're
maybe
going
you
to get
will.
it.
If you
That's
really
right.
want that disease, go ahead, do what he did. But if you want to live a better life and be a good example to your children, then you can adapt some of this stuff. And it might be a little, push you out of your comfort zone. What a blessing it would
Yeah.
be to be able to
You know,
have that.
Another thing I wanted to highlight is in our city of Corona is our Parks and Recreation Department. They do so much programming for young people, for the youth, um, college students, but also senior citizens and people that are retired. They again they do art classes, they do Tai Chi, they do all sorts of art and painting through Parks and Recreation. So even if you don't live in Corona or in the surrounding area of the Inland Empire, check out with your own community about your parks and recreation departments. There are a lot of free or very low cost events that you can do in your community to get out and really help live longer and have community. So check in with your local parks and recreational department. I know Corona's is amazing. They've been having an avid amount of programming for years, and I used to be on the Parks Commission, so I know firsthand of all the wonderful programming that they've done. And even though there's been budget cuts and times of downturn, they still create programming for every part of life. If you're young, if you're middle age, if you're an active senior, they have things and programs for you to get out and get involved.
I love that. Nice commercial for Corona. That's
You
wonderful.
bet.
Yeah, we love our community. And you have a chapel in Corona, but you also have a chapel in Riverside, the Sierra
Yeah,
Memorial Chapel. And there is so much going on. And having the just having the desire of the city to put the finances and resources towards helping its community
absolutely.
and citizens have a better life,
Yeah,
what's better than that, right? So I'm going
absolutely.
to go over a couple of the things that, again, our neighbor Loma Linda, before we wrap
Yeah,
up, is doing that. Again, not, you don't have to do everything, but it's nice to know what is working, right?
that's correct.
So something that they are big on is
Yeah,
predominantly they follow a plant forward or vegetarian diet.
exactly.
It's a lot
Yeah,
of beans, whole grains, nuts, fruits, vegetables. So if you even
yeah,
go into the area, there is so many like Clark's Health, the store, and there's Loma Linda grocery store.
sure. Yes.
They have that. They have a high nut and legume consumption.
Yeah,
So those foods are linked to a lower heart disease and a longer life.
yeah,
They, as a rule, abstain from smoking and alcohol. They are a very faith-based community.
yes, sir.
They practice Seventh Day Adventists, and they have very strong faith and community ties. They have regular, fellowship and church life that create social networks, mutual support and sense of belonging, which is great. They also do regular low effort movement. So they
Yeah,
built into their daily life walking, gardening, physical chores. Oh, I wanted to say this.
yeah,
Something in the show I thought was interesting. In almost all of the blue zones, it sounds weird, but they squatted a lot.
yeah. They do. They get down and like they get. That's not on their knees, but you kind of squat down and get your butt to the ground.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of the people in Osaka, Japan, they squatted. And again, they squat because they're doing their gardening. So the people in Greece, they were squatting, doing their gardening, and so they're not on their knees. They're actually on their feet squatting, which helps it stretches the tendons and ligaments in the legs, but also builds the core in your belly. So it's amazing how they squat. They don't kneel when they're doing their things. They're on their
Right.
feet. Yeah.
Right. And it also builds up your pelvic floor. Like there's so many benefits to it. So
Yep.
consider that. Like when they play with their grandchildren or children, they're squatting
Yep.
and they're pulling their weeds squatting, they're picking their vegetables squatting. They'll
Yep.
get down in the lower cabinets of their kitchen and they put the things that they need to get every day down low and they're squatting. Like
Yep.
it's a silly little thing, but just think about the benefit of that.
Yep.
A couple more things that they do besides that regular low effort movement. They also have a purpose and routine.
Yes.
Meaningful roles in their family and their community give people reasons to get up each morning and stay active. So they sign up to bring a meal to a widow or
Absolutely.
to someone would call a shut in, right? Somebody who needs a little extra love.
That's right.
They'll have community prayer groups that they invite people, and if they don't show up, they'll go and say, "Would you like
Hey,
like a ride?" Right? Like
that's
they're
right.
not pushy, but they're encouraging, which is
That is
wonderful.
correct.
And that also goes to their Sabbath. They have a weekly rest and time away from work that reduces chronic stress and supports mental health. So it's downshifting for a day. We weren't meant to work as much as we work in
No.
America.
No.
And there's, in Latin America, they have what they call siestas.
That's
Uh,
correct.
in Italy, like they
Italy and
literally,
Greece, they do the same thing. They'll work. They get up early. They get up at sunrise,
yes,
and then they'll work until noon, have a little lunch, and then they'll take a little nap, and then they might go back just before the sun goes down in the late afternoon to just an hour or two of just kind of finishing up whatever they didn't get finished earlier in the day.
right,
But they do. They take that little respite during midday, just for a half hour to an hour. They just kind of kick it, and it
yeah,
is a Sabbath, whatever day of the week you want. If you wanted to be a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, or a Monday, really taking a day for yourself. I even try to take a day for myself midweek, what I call my self-care day. I might just go have a doctor's appointment and just do less things. And it's a follow up, maybe a therapy, a massage, some, for the ladies, if you want to go get a pedicure, manicure, even getting your hair done, you got to do those things, and just don't do anything but focus on you and your family that day. And you don't do really physical labor. You get away from your phone, put your phone down for 8 or 9 hours for the day, and just relax, decompress from those things. It really kind of recharges you when you can get away from everything out there in the world. Focus on your health and your life and your family, and you'll thrive so much more.
Yeah. Spoken perfect words. Thank you, Chris. That is, it's such a wonderful reminder. As in the last thing they have on their list, and this will tie this all together, is intergenerational living and elder integration. So grandparents
Yeah.
and elders are embedded in their community and their family life, transmitting resilience and practical knowledge. So it's so important. I think we can all attest to this. Our relationship with our grandparents was so more special. I mean, though your
Yeah.
parents are awesome, they hard work, they
Yeah.
supported you. They also have got to honor your mom and dad. But your grandparents, right? Tell me about, like, you just mentioned a little bit more about your grandparents, and I'll let you
Yeah.
finish the show with that.
I mean, my grandparents didn't live close to us, but when they came to visit, they would always come for a couple weeks. But I mean, they were always part of our life. We'd either go up for the summertime to Santa Cruz for a couple weeks, and then they'd come down about every 2 or 3 months because they were retired. I mean, they drove from Santa Cruz to Corona 2 or 3 times a year, and they were in their 70s and 80s, and they were driving the 7 to 8 hour drive to come visit us. It was amazing. But even taking it back today, my sister lives on the other side of Corona. I live in downtown, and my mom lives between us. And so my mom lives like a mile and a half from me, and then she lives a mile and a half from my sister. So my mom lives between both of us. So we see my mom regularly, and we get together. We always used to get together once a week for family dinner, which was so important for years when the kids were all smaller. Now I'm not. My kids live down in Costa Mesa area, so they're not as close by, but I do see them weekly. And me being a new grandparent, I get to babysit my grandson once a week, and I get to spend a day with him. So those are the types of things. My daughter said, Dad, I want you to spend the day and watch Chance. And so we do. We get to do that thing, and it really makes me feel good. I get down there. I haven't been squatting, though. I get on my knees, so I got to start squatting more when I'm on the floor playing with my little grandson, so I can start working on my core. But again, family togetherness, intergenerational community, helping each other. My kids help me, I help my mom, we all help each other, and we're all thriving as a family, and it's wonderful. I know not all families are close by, but if your families are all within a half hour, 45 minutes of each other, you've got to make the effort on the weekends or throughout the week to get together, have a family meal, have weekend meals and gatherings, because it's so important. You just don't wait for the holidays. Don't just wait for birthdays, and especially just don't wait for funerals to get together. You got to get together all throughout life, all the time. And so that's how we're going to end the show today, is coming together with a purpose, for your family.
I love that. That is awesome. So, just a couple of announcements. I want to make sure that people put on their calendar movie night at the mortuary on November 7th, celebrating Dios de Muertos. And also, our next Dialogue About Death show is on October 24th. So, we'll be sharing a little bit more about that event on November 7th. So, mark your calendars for that. Coming up tonight, we're so excited again to host the Paint Your Heart Out grief expression through creativity. If again you haven't signed up we'll put the link in the comments so you can sign up and come tonight and just have a fun time. It's like play, right? It's not right. There's no work, there's no fun. There's going to be beautiful music, yummy snacks, fun people. It'll be a nice way to end the day right before dinner, so you can come. Right. And then if you have evening plans, you can still go. This is just from 4 to 6.
That's right. And then also, just to let you know, that movie night at the mortuary on November 7th, it is going to be at our Corona Chapel in Corona at 1118 East 6th Street. So I know we have a couple locations, but the movie night is going to be held at our Corona location for those of you that are in the surrounding areas that like to come to Corona for a free showing of Coco with the family, with some beverages and popcorn, and have a beautiful community night celebrating Day of the Dead.
I love it. Very cool. Awesome, Chris. Another wonderful show.
You
I
bet.
hope people will be inspired by some of the ideas that we got from the
Yeah.
Blue Zone. And I look forward to seeing you in a few hours at our Paint Your Heart Out event.
Yep. We'll
So,
see you all this afternoon. Have a great day and have a great weekend.
all
And
right. Have a wonderful day,
happy
everyone.
fall.
God bless.
God bless.